Sheriff Bouchard has been warning a lot of people about what's been going on in Oakland County with these gangs that are threatening our lives, basically, in our homes. Sheriff Bouchard actually runs one of the largest sheriff's operations in the country, and he was a Sheriff of the Year. I think his budget is about $200 million. It's pretty impressive. So I'd like to welcome Sheriff Bouchard. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that standing ovation. My wife must have bought you muffins or something. Usually they only stand and applaud when I'm leaving, so that's a good, appreciate that. I was asked to speak about some of the challenges that we're facing right here as it relates to public safety, and I heard my former colleague when I was in the Senate. A lot of you may or may not know I was a police officer for about 13 years, and then I was really frustrated with the politicians, so I ran for the legislature, and I was in the Senate for a period, and I served with Mike Rogers in the Michigan Senate, and then I went, I'd rather go back into law enforcement where they have your back rather than stab you in the back. So, so I've been back in law enforcement ever since, and have been super proud to serve with the men and women of the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. I would put the men and women of the Sheriff's Office here in Oakland County up against any agency in the country, bar none, and there's no one I would rather run in a door with than them. And I'm super proud of them as it relates to the tragedy in Oxford. You know, if you saw what happened around the country in Parkland, you saw a terrible, terrible police response. And after that happened, I actually sent a letter to our agency department-wide and said, you know how we've been training, you know my expectations. If there's an active shooter and you get there first, I expect you to go in. Even if you're alone. If I get there first, I'm going in. If we get there together, we're going in together, but we are going in. And there won't be any delay. And what you saw from my deputies was exactly that. They got there, they suited up, and they immediately went in. And I'm convinced he would have continued to shoot until he ran out of bullets, until he was confronted by sight, sound, or physically by our deputies. When the deputies took him into custody, he still had 18 live rounds of ammunition. 18 more shots. So, you know, I'm so proud of the men and women of the Sheriff's Office, not just at that event, but every day. I mean, we actually had to leave a wake of one of the children killed in Oxford to go to another active shooter. And many of the same faces that were at Oxford, I saw clearing rooms that day of a different situation. And they suit up and they do that every day. And so whether they're working in the jail or in dispatch or on the road, you know, if you see them, they don't ask for it, just tell them thanks. Because it's been a tough time to be in law enforcement, and my first job is to make sure that they get the tools, the training, and the backing to do the tough job we as a society ask them to do. And right now it's really tough because Washington is not standing behind them. And there's bills that have recently been discussed. They're talking about making it a crime for a police officer to turn off their body cameras. And among other kinds of things. Is the most important thing we do is to try to vilify a police officer? I mean, they're not here because it's great pay. They're not here because it's great hours. They're here because they want to make a difference. And I would challenge anybody in Washington or Lansing that thinks that the police are the problem, put on a uniform and give it a try.
Absolutely.
So, sorry. I have to give up my rant before we talk about other things, because it's going to be increasingly tough to get men and women to put on a uniform at home or abroad if we keep treating them the way we do. Whether it's the military, you know, I'm super lucky and proud to have my son who just finished 7 years active duty with me tonight, and he's already signed up to go into the Guard because he still wants to serve. So he was with 82nd Airborne and 101st Airborne, so thank you. Wave your hand, my son. And I still call him Mikey. So anyways, I digress. So I wanted to kind of touch base. I was asked to speak about the safety challenges, especially the high-end burglaries that we're facing here in Oakland County. When I first raised that issue and started to inform the public, they needed to be aware of it. They needed to up their game, both in their observation, their situational awareness. If they have alarm systems, use it, turn it on, what the problems and the issues were as it relates to this concern and threat. And people started calling me names because I said they were from South America. I said they were from Chile. We had already had in custody some of them, but they hadn't been publicly charged, so I couldn't say their name yet. But I knew they were from Chile. So I wasn't like making this up, but for a couple of weeks until the charges were formally announced, there was whole groups that put together things, and they wanted to have meetings with me to discuss my insensitive comments. And, they vilified me in so many different ways. And it's so bizarre that you try to inform the public about a public safety challenge and a risk, and somehow, again, you're the bad guy if you tell the truth. It's a bizarre time. But the reality is we have caught two of the crews. One crew was hitting jewelry stores in Oakland County, armed robbers. And we caught them after they had hit, we had the Violent Crime Task Force that we work with local agencies and the FBI that's housed on our campus. And they were caught coming out of the Great Lakes Crossing. They had already hit Oakland Mall at one point. So they were in my jail. They're from Chile. Sorry to say it, they're from Chile. And then the other group that we charged had been hitting homes. They were actually caught in a different state hitting very high-end homes, but we were able to put together an electronic and evidentiary-based case against them. And we're able to make a case against them. They're from Chile. And South America. There's a variety of ways that they're getting in. Obviously, you heard about the porous southern border. And by the way, one of the number one postulates, if you will, or position papers, if you will, for major county sheriffs of America, which I'm the head of government affairs for, and major county sheriffs of America is Republican and Democrats, sheriffs, is to secure the border. And secure it first before you start talking about all this other stuff. We don't know who's in our country, why they're here. We need to fix immigration, of course. So people that are looking to come to this country, we're a country of immigrants, but there has to be a process. There has to be vetting. There has to be lawfulness in that effort. Fix that, yes. First, secure the border. Defend America. Fentanyl, human trafficking, gangs that are coming here to commit crimes on homes and other things. They're flooding into our communities, and we're being overrun on so many levels. We estimate that there's at least 100 crews of Chilean burglars operating in America right now. And typically what they do is they're trained, they're very paramilitary in their motion and activity. They usually work in crews of 4 to 6. Usually, typically 4 go in the house, and you've got a spotter and a roamer. And they have very in-depth pre-op surveillance, and they determine when you're least likely to be home. They have high-tech gear, including gear that they buy from China that jams wireless signals, including radar, radios, or alarm system that are wireless. So they have jammed a lot of wireless signals. So if you've got wireless alarm, wireless motion, wireless contacts on your doors, their jammer will kill it. And they pop the window, and immediately they go in. They've got their jammer in hand. Why do I know? We've seen it on video. And when nothing goes off, they go in. And they know exactly what they're going for. They're going for cash, jewelry, high-end things like purses, very specific. And they're not bashful once they're in there. They'll take the safe right out of the house and try to brute force it someplace else. One of the safes that we had taken out of Oakland County, we recovered, my divers did, in a lake in Livingston County after they brute forced it. So they operate all over the place. They've got massive amounts of fake identification. If they get arrested in states that have the no bail kind of thing, They give up the one identity that they've got, they're released, and they're back on the road with another identity in hand. So the ones that we had multiple identities. Lots of times they use fake Puerto Rican stuff because it gives some connectivity to American rights. So it is a very complex but a super profitable venture that's taking millions and millions out of this country every week. And so after we kind of got a handle on it, because until it waves over you, you're not exactly sure what's happening. You think, oh, we got a burglary ring. Well, let's assign some people. And then you realize, no, this is very organized. No, this is very, very organized. This is high-tech organized. This is well-trained organized. They come in, again, we have videos. They come in the backyard and they're all in black. They look like ninjas. They got masks on, gloves. They each have a backpack that's specialized equipment for their role. The one guy is electronics person, the other guy's got crowbars, one's got the window brakes, and they move quickly. As I said, they do pre-op surveillance. Sometimes they'll put trackers on cars or cameras in your backyard to track and get pattern of life, decide when they're going to hit. The Chileans have not shown an inclination to violence. The Colombians that are doing similar things have. They've been very violent in other states. We have not seen the Colombians here yet, but it's a matter of time, in my opinion, based on how many things that they can get here. So after we started getting a bunch of these, I called all the chiefs in Southeast Michigan and I said, this is a wave. We're not going to be able to do it alone. Would you be part of a task force? And so I created a Southeast Michigan task force focused on transnational gangs. And we have participation from agencies all over South Michigan and federal agencies that were super willing to get involved. A lot of the worker bees in these federal agencies, they want to work against this stuff. They want to do what they signed up for. And so we have all of these folks working together, and absolutely saw no more burglaries after we announced the charges and the task force for months. And I kept going, feels good, but it's not going to hold. Well, it quit holding 2 nights ago and again last night. So they're back. And we're going to do all we can, but I've said this at every room I can in Washington and in Congress when I've talked to members of Congress, when I've talked with members of the administration or Homeland Security. We can't solve this by arresting a team at a time. This has to happen where it starts. And that means our borders, and that means the process. So, for example, the Chilean gangs are utilizing a program called VWP, Visa Waiver Program. So they can apply online and get a visa to come here without all of the same hoops and backgrounds that goes through a traditional visa requirement. And they're the only country in South America that has that right now. All 7 of the folks we've charged criminally here in Oakland County used the Visa Waiver Program and violated it. And Chile still had not come to full sharing of information, which they're required to do under the VWP. So I've asked, look, just pull the VWP from Chile. They can still come here. They can still get a visa, but they have to go through a more extended process. And let's try to figure out how we can slow this down, because all of the ones that have been caught have violated that one specific program. But we also know they're coming across the border illegally if they are not in the VWP. So those are the 2 avenues we need help on. And that's going to be the federal government. So we hope to keep talking about it because it's affecting everybody. And it's a challenge. And then we're not even getting into the fentanyl, huge amounts of fentanyl. And in fact, we're going to hold a town hall on fentanyl in April. 109,000 died from overdose last year in America. 109. 3rd year in a row where we're crossing 100,000 mark. A lot of you may know Rebecca right here from Oakland County. She lost 2 of her boys in one overdose. It is an everyday common thing. We're responding to overdoses every day. My deputies are saving lives every day. But that's the finger in the dike trying to stop it from breaking. We got to stop it from coming in. And we know the biggest manufacturer of the precursor chemicals is China. You know, they have factories doing that in China that are making the fentanyl precursors, and they ship it either by mail or right into the country, or to Mexico or Colombia to back channel it in. Huge amounts of fentanyl are coming in across the southern border every day with human trafficking. The toll is horrendous. My crime lab has seen now the jump in almost all the drugs that we test is almost 80% participation of fentanyl. And here's where it gets really crazy, and it will affect your kids and your grandkids and anybody you love. They are making pills in pill presses, artificial fake pills that you think, well, this is an Adderall. You know, a kid thinks, maybe I want to focus a little more on studying tonight. I'm at college, I'm going to take an Adderall. Focus. And they buy it on the street, synthetic fentanyl, one pill, lights out. So we're seeing kids die, so we actually are going to start a program called One Pill Can Kill. You don't know what's in that pill if you buy it on the street. But I can tell you what's in that pill because we test it. And 80% of them have fentanyl in it. Even if it's labeled Adderall or Valium or whatever you think you're getting, you're not getting. There's no quality control. And if you're buying marijuana in the street, we're finding more and more of it laced with fentanyl. So if you're a marijuana user, go to a licensed, regulated, inspected facility. If you're looking for a pill, and go to a doctor, because it is Russian roulette on anything you buy in the street. I mean, it is terribly deadly, and it affects everybody in every community. And lots of times the path to addiction comes from a way that you wouldn't expect. Sports injury, oral surgery. My daughter played soccer, and 3 of the girls she played soccer with are dead from overdoses. Sports injury, some pills for the pain. Addiction can grab you. A certain percentage of the population is prone to an addictive kind of activity, 8 to 10% in some of the studies. They may not even know it. It may flip a switch, and now they're addicted. They go out to the street to buy it when that script runs out. They have no idea what they're getting on the street, and it kills them. I know, I'm a depressing as hell speaker. But the one thing I am is brutally honest. And those are the challenges we're facing. We got a great team that's making some great cases, but it's a challenge in today's environment. To recruit. You know, we've been trying to get to full staffing for years. And the more they demonize police, the harder it is to get them. And some states are doing the exact worst thing. Their hiring standards have been lowered so they can get people on. And then you're going to have more situations that have bad outcomes, and it becomes a self-feeding thing. If we don't get quality men and women, we're going to have bad outcomes. And if we don't support the quality men and women we have, we're going to get bad outcomes. So if they put half the attention into those things, rather than look for ways to play gotcha, take away qualified immunity when they do a very tough job and make a tough decision in a split second, but it was their only choice, and somehow they're the bad guy. If we don't stop that, as I said for a number of years, we begin to make police the Vietnam veterans.
Thank you.
Where they're asked to do an incredibly tough job and they came home and they got spit on. You know, after George Floyd happened, some of my deputies were refused food service. So, you know, those are the things that are going on. But we are blessed. I'm not going to paint the wrong picture. In Oakland County, people support their law enforcement, and I thank you for it. But the ones that really need it are our frontline men and women. And they need your support. They need God's support. They need everybody's support. So I won't prattle on.
Sheriff Bouchard, thank you so much.